Well, first of all, let me talk a little bit about the aeromedical relationship. It's very unique, the relationship between flight surgeon and the crew or the aviators or the astronauts they're responsible for. And this reaches its penultimate expression in the astronaut corps because the astronaut, this human spaceflight mission is far riskier and takes far more effort and accomplishment and far more dedication, I think, to actually succeed to the point where you become an astronaut. Okay. So when I was a surgeon, I saw people with problems. People would come in a typical clinic. I would see people with gallbladder problems, hernia problems, colon cancer, breast cancer, what have you. Okay, but they came to me with a problem, and the problem needed resolution, and I was the person that could resolve the problem. So we started off with a synergistic relationship. They needed me. I was more than willing to help them. So we started off with a mutual goal of curing the disease. In the aeromedical relationship, the flight surgeon is charged. In the regulatory side of an aeromedical relationship, the flight surgeon is charged with applying flight medical qualification standards to aircrew. So the aircrew comes healthy, they have their encounter with the flight surgeon, and they don't need any help from the flight surgeon, they just need to pass the physical. And that can be a challenge, okay? Because as we age, things go wrong with us, and it's easy to not meet medical standards. So traditionally, over the decades from when flight surgery was invented back in World War I, the relationship between flight surgeons and aircrew, in its worst expression, can actually be inimical. The flight surgeon can pose a threat to the aircrew's career, to the pilot or aviator's career. So we're swimming upstream against decades of that sort of perception on the part of aircrew with regard to flight surgeons. Now, on the non-regulatory side of a flight surgeon aircrew relationship, properly practiced, flight surgeons should be absolutely dedicated to doing everything in their power to keep the folks that they're taking care of flight qualified, to preserve their careers, to preserve their opportunity to fly, and to help them continue their career. And I'm very proud to say that in NASA, we have developed that to a finer art, I think, than anywhere else on the planet. Our flight docs are absolutely dedicated to do everything they can to no matter what happens health-wise to an astronaut. When the astronaut comes to our flight docs, they can be confident that we will exercise everything we can to preserve their career, to give them continued opportunity to fly. And that's drives our waiver philosophy, our aeromedical waiver philosophy. And that, I think, has the same sort of philosophy exists in the military. And the same philosophy, to a lesser extent, in the FAA aeromedical certification system. The difference in the FAA system is they don't provide care for the aircrew. They're strictly regulatory. But they still lean forward to try to keep people flying if they can. In NASA, we both care for the pilots and for the astronauts, and many of whom are pilots, but for the astronauts. And we also provide their care. So we are, if an astronaut comes to the flight dock with a problem, they can be confident that we will go to extremes to preserve their career and to keep them flying. And the reason it's important to do that is, number one, the astronauts are trained at great expense. They're the most highly qualified people on the planet, 6,000 applications for 8 positions. That's pretty long odds at being selected to begin with. So they're very accomplished. They gain experience in flight at very great expense and at very great risk. And it is our duty as flight docs to try to preserve that for the country. Also, we need to proceed and imbue our relationship with the astronaut with trust. If we don't do that, then we can't serve them. The relationship would erode and trend more toward this adversarial relationship I was talking about earlier that's plagued aerospace medicine since its inception. I think we've gotten beyond that. So our waiver philosophy and our waiver guide and our waiver efforts, that's another policy, I believe, that served the agency and the country very well in NASA.